Sevgili dostlar, bazen böyle boş küfe üflemek diye bir laf var, biliyor musunuz? Bazen karşıdan bir şeyler anlatılır. Size hiç tesir etmez çünkü boş küpe üfleniyor. O ne demek? Ya anlatıyor da yani bunu nasıl uygulayacağız, nasıl realize edeceğiz, hayata nasıl geçireceğiz, en ufak bir şey yok, tüyo yok. Anca kitabi konuşmalar. Efendim, Innovera bilişimin Niş yılında bu olmaz. Burada anlatılanları yarın hayatına geçirebilirsin. En ufak endişen olmaz. Yeter ki gözünü aç, kulağını aç, zihnini aç, kalbini aç, ruhunu aç. Al bunları, yarın hayata geçirebilirsin. Bak şimdi böyle bir oturum geliyor karşınıza. Burada konuşulanları lütfen zihnini, gönlünü, kalbini açarak dinle. Yarın hayata geçir, gör bak neler olacak. Hiç yani boş küpe üflenmiyor burada. Efendim, mevzu çok havalı bir başlığa sahip. Güvenli yazılım savaşçısı nasıl olunur ya? Nasıl olunurun tek tek hususiyetleri sayılır. Onları yaparsan olursun. Bu kadar basit. Onlar da kitabi şeyler değil. Efendim, Innovera'dan Kazım Bozkurt bu mevzuyu Andrew Kanikuru ile konuşuyor. Andrew biliyorsunuz Secure Code Warriors'tan ve güvenli yazılım savaşçısının nasıl oluşabileceğine dair çok hayati, reel, gerçek, feasible bilgileri masanın üstüne seriyorlar. Hadi bakalım.
Hello, dear guests. Today, in this session, we are together with Andrew from Secure Code Warriors. He is the Alliance and Partner Channel Manager, and he will have a precious presentation for us for 20 minutes about Secure Code Warrior solutions. Hello, Andrew.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Really happy to be here. Really excited to be a part of V-Shield this year. It's a shame we can't do it in person.
Yeah. I also hope to make it together, but you know, the pandemic obliges this to us.
Yeah.
Would you introduce yourself firstly, and I will ask a question about your solution, and then you can pass to the presentation.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So, as you heard, my name is Andrew Kanikuru. I am the Channel and Alliance Manager at Secure Code Warrior. I've been here for a very short period of time. I've only been here for 7 months, but I have a background in application security. I used to be involved in selling automated tools such as static analysis, dynamic analysis, etc. And I had the pleasure of working with Innovera previously in my previous role. So it was a very natural thing to do to sort of speak with yourselves and see if we can work together on our Secure Code Warrior solution. So really excited to be here and looking forward to working with the Innovera team.
Thank you very much, Andrew. As you know, there are many attendees all over the Turkey, and yep. They all focus on secure coding, and in development lifecycle, they wonder about the security of the DevSecOps. So, why is secure coding training needed, and what's the problem? I will initially ask this question and go for the presentation, please.
Okay, yeah, very good question. Merhaba arkadaşlar, affedersiniz Türkçem çok iyi değil, onun için İngilizce konuşacağım. So yeah, excellent question, and it's some of the things that I've been asked about during my time at Secure Code Warrior, especially when I speak with partners. And why is there a problem, you know, when we look at application security? So I'm just going to sort of share my screen, if that's okay, and just give you a little bit of information on why we feel that it's important. So I'll do that very quickly right now, and just to give you a sort of a bit of a visual understanding of what it entails and what it means. So I hope you can all see my screen okay.
Yeah, we can see it.
Fantastic. So the reason that we look at application security is really because of the huge amount of issues that we've read about in the news within organizations that are being targeted by cyber criminals. You look at all of the solutions that people are investing in heavily, you know, endpoint security, network security, etc. But cyber criminals understand that there is a fundamental issue within the application code itself. And that's where they're focusing a lot of their attacks. So if you look at a typical application these days, at least 85% have at least one vulnerability, and 1 in 3 scanned applications, tested applications, contain SQL injection. And this is a problem because this takes time to fix, and this is also a huge cost for organizations. And you know, what we're trying to say is that applications should actually be secured from the very beginning. You know, when you look at these issues, you wonder why they appear. So typically when an application is being developed, we talk about the vulnerability loop. And what this entails is that, you know, an application is developed and a vulnerability is introduced into the code, not deliberately, just because, you know, people know better. And then we go out and we scan for that vulnerability. You know, we do our static analysis tests, our software composition of tests, maybe penetration testing, and then we locate it and we fix it. Fantastic. So that works really well. It works really well in the old days when, you know, there was the waterfall development methodology where you had 1 or 2 releases a year, and you could test and fix and get on with it. It was great. But what happens now is that the way that software development has evolved, it's all about fast releases and keeping up with the competition, making sure that, you know, you can gain market share with having better applications delivered quickly and taking advantage of that particular product. So what happens is that, you know, the applications are now being updated regularly. So vulnerabilities are reintroduced, you then have to do scans again, and then you have to locate and fix again. And this is a loop, this continues. And what happens here is, you know, you get delays, you get costs of fixing, and it becomes an issue. Security becomes an issue. So what we're saying at Secure Code Warrior is, let's, you know, break that cycle. Why does that cycle appear? Why is it there in the first place? You know, when I mentioned that we've been developing applications now for many, many years, why are we still seeing vulnerabilities? Well, it's quite simple. You know, when you look at a vulnerability like cross-site scripting, it's been around for 15 years. You'd think by now that it would be eradicated. But the problem that we have is developers do not have the knowledge that's required to fix applications, number one, and also to avoid them in the first place. When we look at an architect, for example, they go to university, they study about the form, the function, making a building look beautiful but also functional, but they also look at the fundamentals of that building. You know, is it safe? Does it withstand earthquakes? You know, and really look at the safety aspect, which is a major part of what they do. However, when a person goes to university to study to become a developer or work in software, very few courses in computer sciences actually include security. And that's where the whole problem arises. And what we're trying to do is now bring that back and say, look, let's not look at just being, just identifying and locating, but let's bring this back and start looking at our developers and seeing how we can educate them. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, very well. I understand it. From the focus of developers, you are really right. They couldn't get this education security subject.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean it's changing slowly. Don't get me wrong, but it's still a major issue. You know, as I say, when we look at and we do particular scans, and we work very closely with some of the tools that are out there, that the issues are continually appearing again and again. You know, we talk about the OWASP top 10. Many of the vulnerabilities of the OWASP top 10 have been there for many years. And we need to help developers to start coding with security in mind and avoid these issues.
Andrew, training as a subject is a very common term, you know, and there are many alternatives there. Aren't there lots of tools in the market already to help with the application security?
Yeah. Absolutely, and there are. I mean, here on my screen, you see some absolutely fantastic tools. I used to work for one of them, and these tools have, over the years, evolved. We've gone from actually looking at vulnerabilities from a manual perspective, doing penetration tests, to tools that can actually start scanning within seconds if need be. And identify issues in the code very quickly. And again, that's really good. That's fantastic. And I'm not saying that these tools should be replaced, because without these tools, you don't know what you don't know. But the issue, again, going back to what I said earlier, is that the problem is that they simply identify. They help you to locate a vulnerability, to identify where it is, and then it's up to you as an organization to fix it. Very few of these tools actually fix the vulnerability for you. So then what happens is that we go back to that vulnerability loop. You run a scan, whether it's manual or whether it's automated, and you identify a vulnerability, but that vulnerability is still being introduced. Each time we do a new upgrade or a new process, the vulnerability is appearing again in that code. So what we're saying is, like, everybody talks about shifting left. Let's actually start left. Let's actually look at our developers. Let's give them the tools and the knowledge necessary to work in conjunction with these solutions. Use the information they provide to fix the vulnerabilities, but also have the knowledge to be able to start thinking security when they're writing code and avoiding the introduction of these vulnerabilities into the software in the first place. So yeah, the short answer is there's lots of tools out there and they all have a job and they do it very well. We actually partner with a lot of these tools, but it doesn't eradicate the problem of those vulnerabilities being reintroduced.
Thank you very much. And I have one more question. You know, security is none of developers' business, actually.
Yeah.
And they hate it, maybe that. Don't developers hate security? How do you try to solve this problem?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I spent 4 years selling a security tool, and you know, whilst we had the cybersecurity manager, the information security manager, the CISO, all on board, they saw that they needed a solution to identify the problems. They loved it, and it was very much green light. Yep, we need something in place. However, it's the developer that has the responsibility of using these solutions. And what it does, as I say, it just highlights an issue that they've introduced. So imagine being told that you've done a really poor job. You've done a job which hasn't passed certain standards, and because of that, the release of an application has been delayed, or you know, a report has come through and it's highlighted a list of issues that are in there in an application that you've created. So people then have to, the developer has to then stop, look at the vulnerabilities, go back, try and fix them as quickly as possible in order to meet the really tight deadlines that these are facing now. So yeah, I mean, the myth is that developers don't care about security. They absolutely do. Every developer we speak to really cares about what they're doing and really cares about the security of the applications that they're creating. So what we've done with our tool is we've tried to be a little bit different. We've tried to look at ways of empowering a developer to be able to start thinking with security in mind. And it's not new. You know, lots of people do it. There's been classroom training, there's been videos, there's been, you know, reading material, which has all been fantastic up to now. But it's very much been something that's forced upon a developer, something that developers are finding lacking in engagement, lacking in reward. So what we're doing at Secure Code Warrior is we've started to think about, you know, how people like to learn. You know, some people love to learn by just watching something or reading some material. I like to learn by getting my hands dirty and trying things. I remember years ago, back in the 80s, when I was trying to build computers, I destroyed hundreds of them before I got it right. But it was very much of that hands-on training that I enjoyed. So at Secure Code Warrior, we look at that, and we try and understand how people like to learn. So our platform is designed to really address that. You know, let's not make them watch hours and hours of videos where there's little knowledge retention. Let's not make them sit in a class listening to somebody talking at them where there's little input. Let's not just throw a bunch of text at them and tell them to read it and come back later and make sure that they've learned. Let's really get them engaged. So what we're saying is let's have a mixture of hands-on training, of gamification, of challenges, of a little bit of fun. You know, training can be fun. Give them sort of not hours of videos, but little micro learning short snippets that actually address the point that they're trying to learn and solve. And let's make it in a way that it's very easy for them to consume. So let's not forget, developers are very hard pushed for time. So one of the things that we've looked at is, well, why not become a part of their software development tooling? So when you look at things like ticketing systems and testing tools, well, we actually integrate with some of these tools so that as they're working and an issue is highlighted, they can actually just click a button, take some very fast training, learn how to identify a problem, learn what it means, learn how to fix it, and then get on with their work, which is creating fantastic code. So that's the way that we're looking.
The magic keyword may be the attraction.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the and also self development. As a software developer, you want to learn, you want to improve your stance, and by providing this to your development team and rewarding them, that's really important. To reward, you know, achievement. This also equates to keeping your best staff because they're being valued. So one of the issues that we're all facing now in the world is a lack of knowledge, a lack of people in the cybersecurity industry, and you know, people are losing developers.
Oh, Andrew, I lost your voice. Andrew? Could you hear me? Andrew, could you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I lost your last words.
Would
you repeat the last sentence?
Yeah, so it was very much about not only training your developers to produce better code, which is, you know, the priority, reducing risk, reducing cost, reducing delays, but also acknowledging the fact that they're learning and they're getting better and rewarding them, and that results in attrition, keeping your best people so they don't go elsewhere because they feel valued.
Yeah, thank you.
So, with your permission, I just wanted to give the people that are watching this an example of how we've helped an organization, if that's okay.
Yeah, please. We have, I think, 4 minutes, and we will have a last question and wrap up.
Yeah. So one of the things that we're trying to do is not make training a tick box exercise. So a lot of people look at training as something that they should do once or twice a year. There may be a requirement for PCI compliance, or there may be an internal audit to make sure that everybody is at the right level, etc. And that's really, let's do a quick bit of training in a classroom or online, now more online because of COVID, and tick the box, completed and done. There's not been, there's no retention in this. There's no learning pathway. There's no development in this. We're just saying yes to a question and moving on. So what we're saying is that the developer training should be a part of your software development and cybersecurity system. It shouldn't be just a one-off thing. So every one of the people that work with us, every customer that works with us, gets a client success manager to make sure that we can align our solution and our platforms with the outcomes that they want to achieve, which is in the long run a team of skilled cybersecurity aware developers and potentially security champions, so that it becomes embedded in part of their cybersecurity program.
Okay, thank you. I have one more question. How has developer training helped your customers?
Sure.
Give us an example and maybe tell a little about their success story.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, and I always say, don't take my word for it. And here's an example. So thank you for that. So we work predominantly with organizations that create their own software. And I would say a vast majority of our clients are in the banking sector or within, finance sector of some kind. We also work with media and retail, etc. But I would say a huge amount is within the banking sector. And that's normally really because traditionally they've been major focal targets for cyber attacks. So one of the largest banks in the world, that we work with, have got around 12,000 developers globally, dotted all around the world in different business units, speaking different languages, different time zones, etc. And what they saw was that despite investing in all of the tools that we talked about earlier, the static analysis and the dynamic analysis, manual penetration testing, all of the tools and the processes that they put in place, was not really solving the problem of having the delays due to vulnerabilities, having the costs associated with fixing, because that's something that we don't look at as well, is the cost of a developer's time should be spent in developing code, not trying to fix vulnerabilities. So they looked at that and they saw that it wasn't really making a dent on the issues that they were facing. So a couple of years ago, they implemented a cybersecurity or an application security strategy, which really included all of these tools because they saw a huge value in those, and they were being used in the right way. But what they also did was sort of pulled back a little bit and looked at their development team. They looked at the vulnerabilities that were being identified by these solutions, and noticed a trend that it was a lot of reoccurring vulnerabilities, a lot of the things like in the OWASP top 10, etc. And the issue was, well, we're identifying these. Why aren't we eradicating them? Why are they reappearing? And they looked at their development team, and they needed a solution that could address the fact that their development team was spread globally. So things like classroom-based training was very, very difficult to manage at the time. Particularly, it's difficult to get everybody in a room in the same time at the same place. And they looked at all of the e-learning type scenarios and solutions that they'd done before and couldn't really manage or track that. And there was nobody that there was no way of sort of really understanding if the content on these e-learning was actually resonating with their development team. So they looked at training, and they chose us because we're one of the market leaders in our field, and by using our client success team along with their internal team, we rolled out a program that of training that sort of was in line with their expectations and their goals and the problems that they wanted to solve. And it was a gradual process. We looked at individual teams, individual leads. We looked at how we could segment the levels of maturity within their development team when it comes to cybersecurity. And we put together a program that would help them build this strategy across all of their dev team. And we've been lucky enough to be working with them for 2 years now. And in 2 years, they've seen an 80% reduction in those recurring vulnerabilities that they were faced with 2 years ago. So when you
huge proportion.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the biggest success stories, and that's really down to, I think, it's not just, you don't just buy Secure Code Warrior, here's your licenses, see you next year when you'll renew. Our belief is that secure developer training should be a program and should be a part of strategy when it comes to application security. And our client success team are there to sort of hold our customers' hand, give them some great best practices that they've experienced with other customers, and use that knowledge to build out a strategy and a program that's going to give them the success that they want. And an 80% reduction, as you say, is absolutely fantastic. We haven't put that in a monetary value, but if you look at 12,000 developers and the thousands and thousands of applications that they have and the hundreds of thousands of vulnerabilities that they must have been seeing, it's a huge win.
We can easily imagine it.
Yeah.
We extend our time a little bit, and
Sorry.
if you have 1 minute to wrap up.
Yeah, as I say, thank you very much for this time. We're very, very eager to work with organizations. We're a very good company to work with regards to giving you access to our platform. We really, really believe in that, people should be able to try before they buy. So if anybody wants a tailored demonstration, a free trial, they want to do maybe a tournament within their organization and create some fun, reach out to us, reach out to our partners in Avera, because we work with them very closely, and we'd be more than delighted to help you and explore the different options that we have.
Thank you very much, Andrew. It was a very nice and precious presentation. We really learned very good things. Thank you very much for your time. Have a nice day, guests, dear guests. See you in the next session.
Ben teşekkür ederim. Görüşmek üzere.
Görüşmek üzere.
İyi günler.